Louisiana just opened its third round of grants for homeowners, offering up to $10,000 to help them repair or replace their roofs to the fortified roof standard. The latest round of applications for the Fortified Home program opened at noon, but it's on a first-come, first-served basis, and there are requirements you have to fulfill. You can sign up through the state insurance department's website. Officials say there will be a fourth round. Those fortified roofs are expected to lower insurance costs for those who have them.
But as Sabrina Wilson reports, even with no hurricanes this year, Louisiana's insurance crisis persists.
Even though hurricane season is almost over and Louisiana hasn't been hit by a hurricane this year, the insurance landscape hasn't rebounded.
Is it a crisis still? Yes.
But veteran insurance agent Dan Burkhardt says some insurers are writing new wind and hail coverage.
A new roof is definitely going to get you in the door and looked at as a potential customer.
Rates skyrocketed after Hurricanes Laura and Ida.
And there are some insurers, when they look at these renewals, they were much higher than they were a year or two ago before all this took place. So we're here to help.
Insurance Commissioner Jim Donlin says after $42 million in state money was awarded to 8 companies earlier this year, they wrote 35,000 new policies, and he says about 15,000 of those benefited homeowners pushed into Louisiana Citizens, the state's insurer of last resort.
I highly advise people to call and shop around because there are companies that are lowering rates below Citizens, and if you qualify.
Still, some other brokers I spoke to say the market hasn't improved much as insurers continue to cherry pick new customers. But there is hope that the state's grant program to help some homeowners harden their roofs will be a game changer. Donlin spoke about that during the Louisiana Resilience Task Force meeting at the state capitol.
What I consider to be our long-term solution to our challenges in the insurance market.
A stronger roof could limit interior damage.
And the feedback I have is the more fortified roofs that we can saturate our area with, the more interest it will have of insurance companies coming to set up shop here.
We have seen State Farm with their filing come in with a 20 to 25% rate reduction that they're offering for folks who get a certified roof in place.
Better late than never. And with that said, I'm looking forward to some lower rates.
There's expected to be another special session on the insurance crisis early in 2024.
A bad faith penalty doesn't exist in several states, and we have one here, and it does hang over these carriers, especially any new company that wants to come here.
Dan Burkhardt says for some property owners, insurance premiums are 30 to 40% higher than before, but he says independent insurance agents have multiple options they can call and constantly check for lower rates.